Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be the second in our series of Canadian Forces Ranks Explained, and today we're looking at the Canadian officer. Just before I get started, if you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, it really helps the channel out, and leave a comment down below, especially if I get something wrong, because, you know, that happens. So, today, looking at officers, the first rank of a Canadian infantry officer will be an officer cadet. These guys will still be in RMC at this point. They're still in training. It's generally, I mean, if you're going to RMC, it's a 4-year course, but it's primarily university, to be honest. And then you do your summers doing your infantry training or your officer school training. Remember, I was not an officer, so I was a master corporal, so this is just my view of the officers. The next rank is the second lieutenant, and the second lieutenant is the first rank when they get to battalion. So generally what will happen, and this is what happened with me actually, was an officer cadet, once they finish training, they will get promoted to second lieutenant, and then they will go to the recruit school, and they will pick up a platoon in recruit school. They'll take that platoon through recruit school. They'll take that platoon into TQ3, infantry trades training, battle school. They'll take that platoon through battle school, and then they'll take that platoon into the battalion. By the time an officer gets to the battalion, they're going to have, well, obviously they're 4 years in training, plus likely another 8-ish months of taking a platoon through their training. And then once they get the battalion, then a second lieutenant is going to then become a rifle platoon commander. Platoon commander, yeah. The next rank will be a lieutenant. To be honest, there's not a big difference between a lieutenant and a second lieutenant. They'll generally be, a lieutenant will generally be a rifle platoon commander or possibly a combat support platoon commander. By the time you get lieutenant, I believe all of the officer ranks is a minimum of 2 years in rank, but it often can be as much as 4 years in rank. And actually the pay incentives for officers, I think, go up to either 10 or 12 years in rank. So as you get up in rank, it generally becomes longer and longer to get to that next rank, unless you're what's called a streamer. I actually was the driver for John Vance. And anyone who's in the Canadian military, if they know John Vance, if they were in the Canadian military in the last 20 years, they should know who John Vance is. This man was a streamer, and he wasn't well liked by almost anyone, especially the officers. But that's for a different video. So next is going to come a captain. And a captain theoretically could still be a platoon commander, but more likely they're going to be a combat support platoon commander, or they will be Company 2IC of an entire company. And again, the amounts of time to get to captain and on from now on are going to start getting longer, generally. I think in order to get promoted from captain, I think they need staff college at that point, but I'm not really all that familiar with the training that officers really have to go through. So generally, Company 2IC or platoon commander for one of the support platoons, or possibly a position in battalion ops. There were probably a half a dozen or more captains in the battalion CP who did different jobs, ops officers. I honestly don't remember all of the different positions, but there were a lot of captains running around the battalion CP. A couple of lieutenants, and major would only have been the DCO. So anyway, next would be major. So major is going to be a company officer commanding, and that will be either of a rifle company or combat support company. It's going to be major. Or they're going to be the deputy commanding officer. There might be a couple of staff ranks possible for major, but it's far less likely. You didn't see a lot of extra majors running around a battalion like at all. Next is going to come your lieutenant colonel. The lieutenant colonel is the commanding officer of the battalion. This is the man who is in charge of everything in an infantry battalion. And this is really the last combat position for an officer. Because from there, you get to colonel. And a colonel in the Canadian Forces is generally a base commander. And that's, it's a staff position. It's a desk job. The closest base commander gets to any kind of field work is they'll go out. If there's an exercise on their base, they'll get to go out and tour a little bit. Or they'll get to, at their prerogative, they'll get to join one of the battalions when they're doing PT or workups or qualifying rifle qualifications or any kind of qualifications. Base commander fully in charge of everything on the base. And as I said in my previous video, a base in Canada is a full combined arms base in general. You'll have one or two infantry battalions. You'll have armored artillery, engineers, logistics, helicopters, MPs, communications. There will be a comms squadron. It's basically the size of a company. So yeah, that's pretty much it for a colonel. Next, you're gonna get to a brigadier general range. Brigadier general will be a brigade commander. So once you're promoted from a base commander, you get promoted to brigade commander, and a brigade commander could or likely is in charge of more than one base. I mean, technically in Canada, there are, I think, 5 brigades. But I think like 2 or maybe even 3 of those brigades are on paper. And that's going to start including both regular force and reserve forces at the brigadier general range. Now, here's where it gets a little bit more controversial. The next rank is major general. Now, when you look at all of the other ranks, there are generally 3 or 4 platoons per company. Say 3 rifle platoons and a heavy weapons platoon. Okay, there are generally 3 or 4 rifle companies plus combat support company and a logistics support company in a battalion. There are generally 3 or 4 battalions in a brigade. So following that logic, there should be 3 or 4 brigades in a corps, I guess, is the next step. So theoretically, a major general should be a corps commander. In reality, in Canada, you don't have enough. The infantry, the land forces, don't have enough people to justify a major general on paper. However, in Canada, I don't know exactly how many of the different general ranks there are. Last I heard, there were over 200 people who were brigadier general or above. But I'm going to say that a major general is just not needed in the Canadian Army as it stands today. And then that'll bring us up to a lieutenant general, which theoretically should have 3 or 4 corps to, I'll say, an army. I'm not exactly sure of how that goes there. But to be completely honest, it's the next rank that's just not needed in the Canadian Forces. There just aren't the people to support that rank. And certainly not enough to support, 100 or 200 odd general ranks. Keeping in mind that the Canadian Forces has right now Army, Navy, and Air Force all combined, I think 65,000 maximum people in uniform. So just not necessary. And then the next rank from that will be a general. And there's only one of those, or there should only be one of those, and that's the Chief of Defense Staff. That's the person who's in charge of everything. And that's it. The Canadian Forces officer ranks are actually pretty straightforward, and the Canadian Forces being so small comparatively, I mean, we've got, 40 million people and 65,000 odd people in uniform. So Canada has a very small army relative to our size. When you look at other nations which compare to us in population size, like New Zealand, you have like 2, 3, 5 times as many people in uniform. So I guess it is what it is. But that's it. That's the Canadian Forces officer ranks, specifically with an eye towards the infantry and how that works. If you have any questions, leave them down below, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Remembering, of course, I'm not an officer. I was a master corporal, but these are the people I worked with, and this is how, or for, I guess. And the jobs that I saw them doing when I went through. So thanks a lot, guys, for watching. Again, please leave a like on the video if you liked it. Please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment, especially if I got anything wrong. I'm likely going to rankle a few feathers with the not neededs here. But hey, that's what it is. I call them as I see them. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.